If you're following along, you know I'm not even halfway done using up all the lobsters I got in this video here. If you haven't seen it, check it out. So I figured why not do an absolute classic, a must, every time I hear the word lobster, and that is a New England lobster roll.
That's me, thinking that I could just wing a recipe, not even realizing how many mistakes I was about to make. Might be too late for me, but I can still show you what not to do.
The perfect lobster roll is incredibly simple, so every ingredient has to be treated in the best possible way.
They weren't.
For it to come out absolutely perfect.
It didn't.
The perfect lobster roll comes on a buttered, toasted, split top roll. It can be pretty difficult to find, so we're gonna make our own today, and it's gonna be a lot better. So don't go anywhere, let's cook.
Let's start this video off on the right foot by clicking the like button and avoiding the first mistake. To keep our bread nice and soft, we're gonna make a paste known as a Tian Zhong. So over medium heat, combine 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of water, and 4 tablespoons of milk. Heat it for about 3 minutes or so till it's nice and thicky thick. Then we're going to remove this and just let it cool. And it should look something like this. I don't know why I did that. This is mistake number 2. Don't turn it upside down. It's not a blizzard. Alright, get back in there. Next we want to bloom a tablespoon of yeast into half a cup of warm milk heated to about 90 degrees. Mix that up real nice and let it sit for about 10 minutes. In the meantime, combine 2.5 cups of bread flour into the bowl of your stand mixer, along with 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. Give that a good little mix. Once your yeast is fully bloomed, add that to your mixer along with your Tian Zhong paste and let that mix for a minute or two, and then add 2 eggs one at a time until fully incorporated. Once everything's mixed together, go ahead and add 3 tablespoons of softened butter and let it mix for 5 more minutes until it's nice and smooth. Then just take it out, form it into a nice ball. Cover it with plastic wrap and let that proof for 1 hour. While our bread's proofing, let's go ahead and get all the meat out of this lobster, starting with the tail in one big piece, then moving on to the claws. And if you want a little trick, remove the rubber band because that's not good eating. Then just take the knuckle off. And I like to call this the thumb, so just twist the thumb back and forth, and then using the back of a knife or some lobster crackers, just crack it a couple times right at the joint. Give it a little twist, and then all the meat should come out in one big piece, just like this. For the knuckle, just crack it a couple times all over. Give it a little twist right where it naturally separates, and then it should come out in one big piece. If not, you can just stick your finger through here and push it out the other side, and you got one big piece of knuckle meat. And definitely don't forget, there's a lot of really good meat in the legs, and I show you in my last lobster video how to get all of that out of there. Little hint, it involves using a rolling pin, and if you did it all correctly, you should have one inside-out lobster just like this one. Now all we have to do is chop up our lobster, but this is where I made the biggest mistake. Do not chop it too small. This is too small, especially since I thought I was being slick and I only par-cooked it because I wanted to sous vide it the rest of the way. Turns out, don't do that either. Sous videing it made it way too wet and way too soft. You really want that nice chew that comes with traditional steamed lobster meat. Now that our bread has proofed and doubled in size, go ahead and hit some of the air out of it. Move it out to your work surface where we're going to flatten it out as best we can. And we're going to cut these into 8 equal sized pieces. If you look closely, you'll see that I'm cutting it into more than 8 pieces. But don't do that, they turned out to be a little too small, so just stick with 8 pieces. And then once you have them, go ahead and just fold them onto themselves over and over again, forming a nice taut ball. Then you can roll them in your hand or on a flat work surface just to get them nice and tight. If you want to be extra sciencey, you can weigh these out. They should be about 100 grams each. But once you have all of your balls, just cover them with a damp cloth and let them sit for 15 minutes just to relax. After they're nice and relaxed, go ahead and take one at a time, and we're going to roll these gently on your work surface. No flour necessary. Till you get about a 6-inch long log. Measure it however you like. But once it's 6 inches long, set it back on your sheet pan, form the rest of them, and then cover it with another sheet pan and let them sit and proof for another 1 hour. After an hour has gone by, these should have doubled in size yet again. So now all we have to do is brush them with egg wash, put them into a preheated 375-degree oven for about 15 to 18 minutes until they're nice and golden brown. And if you're wondering, this recipe also works for hamburger buns, so that's what these are. While these are still hot out of the oven, we're going to take a stick of butter and brush the tops. This is going to make sure they stay nice and soft, and it's going to prevent a crust from forming. Now it's time to dress our lobster meat. So in a small bowl, we're going to combine 1 rib of chopped celery along with our way too wet lobster meat and a little bit of mayo. I should have used about half of this. Finish it with fresh cracked pepper and some sea salt. And the key is we're looking for lobster that's lightly dressed, not lobster salad. This one ended up being a little bit too much like lobster salad. So just gently toss it all together, making sure not to break up those big lobster chunks. Set this aside for just a second while we get our bun ready. First, slice it right down through the top. Then I like to take some melted butter and just brush it on both sides. Put it in a preheated pan for just about a minute or two to warm it up. And now we're ready to plate. I like to put in a little bit of lettuce for crunch and then just pile on the lobster. I found this makes enough for 2 moderate-sized sandwiches, or just take it to the next level and just pile it to the moon on 1 sandwich. Save the claw meat for the top, and you are ready to eat.
Really well-made lobster roll may just be the single greatest bite of food you may ever try, especially if you make it yourself and save a bunch of money. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you again for joining me. I'm Jim with Doesn't Pay Full Price, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.